Hi, I'm Victor Lambs, and you're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, where we talk about hidden meanings and deeper layers found in Stargate movies, TV series, and more. Joining me today are Father Cory Sticha. Hello, Father.
Howdy, Victor.
And Lisa Jones. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Victor.
And Jeff Haecker. Tech mate, Jeff.
Tech mate, Victor.
Thanks. Jack couldn't be with us today as he is busy transporting Wraith prisoners for use in medical research. Regardless, today we are discussing the 7th episode of Season 1 of Stargate Atlantis, Poisoning the Well. The Atlantis team encounters the Hoffans, a human civilization on the brink of a recurring discovery that may make them immune to Wraith feeding. They have developed a drug that not only shields the victim from culling, but also turns the Wraith's feeding process against them, creating a poison that can kill the Wraith. However, the drug has a severe side effect, a 50% mortality rate among those who take it. Dr. Carson Beckett, enchanted by the Hoffan chief scientist Perna, helps perfect the drug, but the Hoffans begin inoculating their people before the drug's side effects are fully understood. The Hoffan leaders are eager to distribute the drug to the rest of the Pegasus galaxy, despite the risks. The episode ends with a moral dilemma as the Hoffans vote overwhelmingly to proceed with the drug's distribution, accepting the 50% mortality rate at the cost of defeating the Wraith. The Atlantis team, led by Major John Shepard, leaves the planet with the knowledge that the Wraith will likely retaliate against the Hoffans and any civilization that they have come into contact with. What did you think of this episode, Father?
Well, it's very unbelievable that a government would distribute a vaccine without making sure that it's properly tested. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait. Yeah. Cut that, Victor. No.
Yeah.
No, this is a good episode. I enjoyed it. Of course, you deal with some of the questions of science and the questions of, just because this thing works, is it something that should be done? What are the, what are the consequences beyond there? Like you said, will the Wraith come and retaliate? Oh, absolutely they will. They will basically bomb them into, the Stone Age. They won't even worry about culling them. They'll just destroy them all. So it brings up a lot of these questions. And, we get to see a bit more of Carson Beckett and get to, get kind of his episode is basically what I'm trying to say. But so I really enjoyed it.
Thanks. What about you, Lisa?
I'm with Father Cory. I like that Atlantis just is jumping in and let's talk about all these moral issues. And I like Dr. Weir is like, this is not what I expected to be doing, but oh wait, maybe I have to make these decisions. I like it. I love Beckett. It's just, I love that they gave us an episode right off the bat. It feels so early in the arc of Atlantis to get a whole Carson episode. And there were some parallels here that, like Father Cory mentioned, that were kind of hard to avoid, in 2024. But I do have a question. If I don't know, I'm left after this episode thinking if the government is very public about the cause, the effect, the 50%, and then leave it up to the people to decide, I don't know. It was an interesting conundrum because we as society are not faced with this. When the Wraith come, 95% of them are going to die. So I don't know. It kind of makes you think, which I enjoy.
Yeah.
Thanks. How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, this was a fun one to revisit because I'd seen Atlantis a couple times, not as much as SG-1, but it's always interesting to see in the Pegasus galaxy how these societies, because they know the Wraith are gonna come back and gonna cull them every 150, 200 years. So it's interesting to see how different societies develop that, because I think in a couple episodes we'll meet the Janai and kind of their process of avoiding that culling or trying to keep their society alive. And this one, their whole society was kind of built toward creating this drug, and like every generation they get closer and closer, and then they're wiped out for a couple hundred years, and then they continue that work. And I also like how they had these various libraries kind of secluded across, I don't know if they said across the world or just across the city, because I guess they probably don't have a huge world society with being called every couple hundred years. But it would remind me a lot of monasticism in the Catholic Church of preserving this knowledge and sending it out to other monasteries, or it was very similar to that in my mind. So and yeah, the moral dilemma was interesting because they say, oh, this works, and this drug will come back later in a big way. But yeah, people just don't realize, like, these people, they're just going to bomb you for spite. They're not going to put up with, oh, we'll just leave them alone. Because I think that's even a callback to like an SG-1 when they're trying to say, oh, if we just shut down the gate, the Gould will leave us alone. Like, no, they have ships. They'll come. They'll figure out a way. They're not going to take this lying down, especially if it comes back to kill them. So yeah, it was interesting, and RIP to our first Wraith Steve that we have a name for. So always, but yeah, this one was a good one and fun to revisit.
Yeah, I think I agree with the panel here. It's a very fun episode. We have a moral quandary. We have probably one of my favorite elements of the whole Stargate franchise, which is when they go to a planet that's like an early 20th century Earth type planet. Mm-hmm. And so you get to see like how could things have happened on Earth, given a different set of circumstances. Like if the Wraith had been culling the Earth in the 20th century, how would we have developed? So that's always cool. And it makes for some really cool sets and costume designs. And we get some really good guest stars in this. Alan, I don't know if it's Scarf or Scarfy, mm-hmm. as the Chancellor, who was on Andromeda, as well as I think like Sequest. He would pop up as a guest star on everything. Yeah,
he's another one of those actors that showed up on a lot of things.
Yeah, always with a very recognizable voice and a half smirk on his face every time. So, mm-hmm. And Alison Hossock as Perna, who we've seen before as well, and in Cure, she was working on the Trutonin. Another ethically
I thought that
ambiguous.
Was familiar. I thought she looked very familiar. I was like, is that? But I didn't look it up. But yeah.
Yeah. So I like this episode. I like the moral dilemma, and I like that this actually has ripples throughout the rest of the show, because so much of what we saw in SG-1 was something momentous would happen and then it would never be addressed again. So mm-hmm. it's good to see that they're evolving to the point where things do have repercussions now.
One thing I like you mentioned, Jeff, was about the libraries. And, Canticle for Leibowitz is a great book that talks about that, with the monasteries keeping all the records and trying to collect as much as they can. They're trying to figure out electricity. They're trying to figure out, these real basic things. It's that was a good thing for them to throw in here, that, they're going to, not just do they have all these books, but they've copied these books and put them in many different places so they could be safe.
Yeah, and I think there's a Babylon 5 episode too, the kind of postmodern, mm-hmm. One where they show like over the next like 5,000 years what happens, and the Earth basically goes back to the Stone Age, but it's the monks essentially are reintroducing technology at the appropriate stage in their evolution and stuff. So
yeah, I can't think who the actor was that was the monk back on Earth. 5,000 years was one of the Rangers that was kind of following up. But yeah, that's a good episode.
Yeah, and so I like the way that the dilemma is presented, because again, Atlantis, the expedition is responsible for the state that the Pegasus galaxy now finds itself in, with the Wraith reawakening and the cullings happening more frequently, and the need to find something or anything that can combat the Wraith is just so key here.
Yeah, and the drug does later on become won't get too much into spoilers for our listeners who haven't seen, but the drug does come into make a big play later, and I think is probably leads to some positive things too, even though it doesn't help the Hoffans, but it helps I think the rest of the humans in the Pegasus galaxy.
Yeah, so what do y'all want to talk about here? Let's see.
Well, we can talk about Dr. Beckett and his crush.
Yeah.
Yes. They were so cute.
They were.
And the way he says her name, I just got to say, like, the Scottish accent, the way he says Perna was super cute.
And I guess even the name Perna was a reference to, the scientists that had worked on, I think, the anthrax strain and stuff, and trying to identify anthrax, and Perna was a reference to kind of the disease you get from anthrax or something. So there was this hidden layer to it. This is written by Damian Kindler, so there's different layers to the writing as he likes to put into his different episodes. And directed by Brad Turner. I'm not sure if this is Brad Turner's first Stargate episode or first Atlantis episode, but he becomes a fixture on Atlantis going forward, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked how Shepard was not too keen on informing them that they woke up the Wraith.
Yeah.
He was playing that real close to the vest. They're like, we have another 50 years. And it's like,
about that.
Yeah.
Well, I like that too, where we've been, they've been there now they tell us they've been there for 2 days and they're getting the tour. And Rodney's, of course, like, there's more stable ways to generate electricity than geothermal, and things like, and he's being and of course, Shepard has kind of like, knock it off.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
And then, and we've got this one thing we really need to show you. And of course, they show him the drug, and it's like, we've been here 2 days. You're telling us this, and you could just kind of see the look on Rodney's face, like, okay, we haven't told them our secret in 2 days either. So,
and I was surprised how fast they gave up. Hey, by the way, we've got a Wraith in a cage.
Yeah,
if you want to test on him, I really thought Becca would get in some trouble for telling on that one.
and not even just telling him, but being so eager to volunteer him.
Yes.
Yeah,
I definitely thought Weir was going to get, a little angry with him about that.
I think that's the reason why Shepard had to go ask.
Yeah. Because Beckett is kind of way out over his skis this entire episode. I mean, there's a lot of, initially the Atlantis team is very condescending to the Hoffans as they would be. It's like, this is kind of like Area 51. If Area 51 had existed in 1918, it's like, well, the area did. That sort of thing. Or Rodney dismissing their geothermal, and then Beckett initially being dismissive of their medical technology until he sees that the Wraith cell cultures that they have are actually viable Wraith cell cultures that they've been experimenting on through how many iterations, we're not really sure.
Hundreds of years or whatever it might be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny how Beckett kept, they kept saying, well, Beckett promised this and this and this, and Dr. Weir just keeps going, oh, really? Oh, really? Like, just, it keeps just escalating, like asking for forgiveness later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can bring in our computers and we can help do this and we can do that. It's like, okay. Obviously no prime directive here.
Never in the Stargate world.
Nope. Oh, let me show you this, this technology that's like 20 years ahead or 80 years ahead of where you're at right now, and much better microscopes and stuff like that.
So a couple episodes ago, we kind of debated what the guy's name was, the Wraith.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do Shepard gets to name him.
Yep.
Yeah.
For one episode.
Yeah.
I was gonna say but it is nice how they keep the secret that they're from another galaxy kind of close to the vest, and that they're obviously not telling people they're from Atlantis. We're from this advanced human civilization that has popped up in the last couple weeks in Atlantis. And
well, we do know that Beckett did finally tell Parna, because at the end when she dies, I would love to have seen Atlantis.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
So he did tell her, but of course that's with everything else that he's said, like where we've got the Wraith and we got all this high tech stuff, and
Yeah, file that away.
Yeah.
And then one thing I really did like about this episode is the kind of mythology or reverence or, kind of patriotism around the scientist who was working in the previous iteration on Farrell on the cure. And, the people fought to the last man in order to protect the scientists so they could, gain one additional insight, and that his last journal entry is known to all Hoffans. And, that explains why they throw themselves into this cure with such patriotic fervor, is that, they revere these scientists as national heroes.
Yep.
And we actually get his last journal entry, and it's very good and very moving in the episode too. Although I'm kind of wondering, it's like, why did he take time to write the journal entry instead of working on the cure? It's kind of like that scene in Monty Python and the Holy Grail where they're reading the writing on the wall, and then it goes like, yarg or something. It's like,
he's right. Yes, he died.
Well,
yes, he died.
Maybe he had someone dictating his research or something.
Yeah.
That's more likely, because they talked about there being a couple of them, but still. But of course, like with some of these things, like if you're you might have a little bit of extra time as you're doing things. It's not like you're constantly working where you could write down just a couple quick notes. But yeah, I'm sure you had a scribe there.
Yeah.
I guess
but it was a powerful quote. I mean, they had, you could see it where this is, their culture has kind of been formed around this idea of we can beat the Wraith. We have hope. We're not giving up. So that's where I was saying, like in the beginning, if you gave them all the choice, now government being completely honest is, not popular, but or happens very often. Who knows? I mean, like they might say this is our destiny.
Well, and they actually did at the end. They said that they did a vote of all the people, and it was like 96% for. Yeah. So it was like all but, a small percentage said, yes, we'll take the risk, knowing, half of us will likely die. We'll still take the risk. Right.
Because when the Wraith come, more than half is going to die and we're starting all over again. So it's just, to me, it's one of those things the Stargate keeps bringing up where you say, we've talked about this so many times, like what our thoughts or actions or what we think we would do, but we've never been in this situation where 95% of your culture or your society is about to be killed. So to me, it's just so interesting to think about and be thankful, of course, that we're not in that situation at present.
Well, it's the post-apocalyptic shows and things like that, and people who are kind of fanboy over that idea and of course they're going to survive because they're a prepper or anything. It's like, everybody knows you're a prepper. Where do you think you're going to go when the food stops coming?
Yeah, you have those locations marked. You're like, I got to get there.
So let's go over to Joe's house. We know he just got a new pallet of rice. We're good to go.
Yeah. First rule of Prep Club is you don't talk about Prep Club.
Exactly.
Well, it's probably so ingrained in their society that they, you do what is best for the society and not, the individual, and knowing that there's a chance you may die from this if it means someone else will live. That's probably most people, because I think it was 96% said they voted in favor of it. So if the government was on the up and up, I kind of just took it as, everybody's just, they don't care. They're giving, they're putting their life on the line because they want to, make sure if not them, at least someone else can survive. So.
And of course, we don't know, is the government going to force everyone to take it? Would it just be those who it's voluntary? So if 96% they were going to take it and they took it, well, I mean, that's still going to give the Wraith some heartburn, to say the least.
Yeah. And if they are good at, like you talked about their libraries and keeping everything, say they bomb everything, but let's say they got some of that out to, I don't know, Beckett or somewhere else.
Yeah.
Or some other people down the road that we learn about, say it gets out, then, then they survive through their legacy.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's a good point, Father Cory. It's like, I was watching this and I was like, why do you need to give it to everyone? Just give it to every 1 out of 10 people. Then only 5% of your population dies, and the Wraith still can't feed on you because they don't know which 10% of the population or 5% of the population has it. So they're not going to feed on you anyways. It's the same effect. And you just don't have to give it to everyone.
And that might be a weakness in the writing where they don't think about that. But but again, this could also be their civilization was built on the community and built on building them up, and so that's not even a question for them. They're just like, no, of course everybody's going to get it. Even if they disagree, they're going to get it because it's what's best for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has
makes
to
it
buy
more
in.
dramatic.
Yep. Yeah.
But I do like the way Beckett's, trying to slow them down on this. We didn't test this right. We didn't do this. We did. Okay. Didn't we flash back to the second episode of Atlantis where he gives Rodney the ancient gene and he's like, wait, has this been tested? And, and he's like,
no time. Yeah.
Yep. Boom. Yeah. Yeah. When it comes to research, he's definitely not squeamish.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, nice one, Beckett. Just remember what you just did.
Yep. He doesn't like travel through the Stargate, but he's not squeamish when it comes to research.
I did appreciate that, the callback to Dr. McCoy on Star Trek.
Yeah. The TV character that Beckett plays in real life.
Yeah, that was
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that was a nice touch.
Was this the first time we've seen Beckett go through the Stargate?
Other than initial.
Yeah.
Right. Other than getting to Atlantis. I like that he said, how often do you get to go see an alien planet or whatever? And he's like, I live on one. Like,
Yeah,
it's like,
right now. I look out the window. I see an alien planet.
yeah.
But he does go off planet a lot more as the seasons progress, and he's more, there's more medical ones coming up, or ones where he has to go treat, save an expedition member or something. So he does kind of get more comfortable with that, and it's kind of funny that Rodney is so open to going through the gate because he's very much a hypochondriac and afraid of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one change that they made very quickly with his character in Atlantis. Is like he's jumping through the gate everywhere, back and forth.
Yeah. I'd forgotten that in SG1 when we first saw him, he was against going through the gate, wasn't he? Because he knows what happens to his body or how it works. Wasn't that?
Yeah, and it was the episode.
Rodney?
It was the Teal'c Interrupted episode 2, right? Where Teal'c was stuck in the Stargate buffer. And so it was kind of germane to that particular conversation, all the things that could go wrong with Stargate travel.
But he's a techie, so any new tech he can get a hold of, he's more than happy to do it. So that gives traveling through the gate gets him to new tech. So
yeah,
because I think when he went to Atlantis, that was his first time going through the gate. If I could be mistaken there, I don't think he went through it on SG1 at all.
I don't remember. No,
I don't remember them wanting to keep him around long enough to.
No, send him off to Russia pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Shepard's quip about the Geneva Convention.
Mm-hmm.
Weir makes a comment about if the Wraith had been if they'd been part of the Geneva Convention, and what does he say? Like, if they'd been at the Geneva Convention, they would have fed on everyone.
Yeah. Eaten everyone, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, they're not in Kansas anymore, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know. Do you have to worry about the Geneva Convention when you're in another galaxy?
No.
You're not even on the planet.
As far as I know, they're not a member of the convention. Yeah.
Or as one YouTuber military YouTuber I like to watch, the Geneva Suggestions. Or Geneva Checklist.
There we go. I think they've brought that up in regard to the Gould too, haven't they?
Yeah.
Didn't they try at one point to apply the Geneva Convention to the Gould, and it was like,
no, this ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
Only convention they're worried about is the Asgard one.
And if you were worried about the Geneva Convention, would you really have a Wraith prisoner in a cell for 2 weeks, starving him?
Oh, no, that's definitely against convention as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they're surprised he's lasted this long. Isn't that what Shepard said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even though he was showing weakness, but he didn't. Yeah. He was able to fake it out. But yeah, he was starting to show weakness.
Yeah. They were like, 2 weeks without food. Oh, surprised you're still alive. But let's worry about the Geneva Convention.
Yeah.
Well, and they were pretty eager to offer up that cancer patient without getting any real intel out of Steve the Wraith. It was like, tell us how many ships are activated and flying around out there. He's like, all of them. He's like, well, that's good enough for us. Here you go.
That's right.
All of them. Could you maybe give us a
so all of them guess. 10 or all of them 1,000?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. How many is that?
Yeah.
And how long are they going to strengthen and feed? Are we talking a week, 2 weeks, 10 years?
Yep.
More details would be nice.
Depends what they could find.
Yeah. It would have given away, I guess, too much of the upcoming show. So they couldn't really do that.
Yep. Yeah, we get those answers quick enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do feel like Atlantis moves faster, than Stargate SG-1 did.
At least at first it did, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel like with SG-1, we spent so long just getting used to the characters, getting used to the possibilities. And now with Atlantis, I mean, they just kind of hit the ground and just go. I guess because they assume maybe they assume people are already familiar with the world, with the Stargate world, or they just have a faster pace and they get people in faster.
I think a little bit of both. In storytelling at this time in science fiction is really changing because, of course, Battlestar Galactica is out, and that really changed a lot of storytelling for these sci-fi serials. And so you could see that they're kind of advancing the plot a lot quicker. Mm-hmm. And you talk about things like that drug coming back we saw that a couple of times in SG1, but not very often.
Mhm.
In Atlantis, some of the stuff does come back much quicker and more frequently.
Yeah, they have much less seasons to do it in too.
Yep.
Well, I like I like the end with Beckett where he quotes, victory at all costs has a very different meaning.
It's pretty much the same meaning.
Yeah, but
Churchill would have sacrificed his country for defeat to Hitler.
but
yeah.
they're actually fighting. His country is
Yeah.
actually fighting, not just taking a drug and
Yeah.
with a 50-50 chance to die.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on this?
I remember Allison. How'd you say her last name? Hossack.
Yeah, let's go with that.
So I was a big soap opera watcher when I was young, and she was on Another World in the 80s when she was a teenager. So
Okay.
she played her character's name was Olivia. She was a ballet dancer. So immediately I'm called back to my teenage years watching Another World.
I know. Here
Fun
she
fact.
is, literally on Another World.
Yes.
Yeah. Twice?
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, lots of Christmas movies lately.
Mhm.
Oh, she's in the Hallmark Channel?
She's making the rounds of Vancouver.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was on an episode of Sliders as well. So,
Mhm.
Yeah, I like the bit of when she's talking to Carson and she's mentioning that you talk different than everybody else, and
Yeah.
it is kind of true because he's I think most of the SG teams, Atlantis teams that we've met are American or Canadian. So he's kind of and there's not many on Atlantis that we've met other than I'm thinking Zelenka, Grodin, and Beckett are kind of the main ones we know right now that have a different accent, and Grodin and Zelenka aren't going off world. So it was just kind of funny. He's like talking about how Scotland is different than the rest of the world and how they talk differently.
Yeah. Every once in a while you'll see
taste.
someone with a different flag on their shoulder, but you don't really hear them. But the rest of the team is U.S. or Canadian, at least the Shepard's team.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just realized they don't give them numbers.
Oh, they don't.
No.
So this isn't like SGA1 or something like that.
Yeah. It's funny.
I just realized that. That's funny.
I think it's
When
their main
she's-
off-world team, though. They don't have a lot of teams.
Yeah. When she said that about you talk differently, I wasn't even thinking so much about his accent as I was thinking that he talks very colorfully.
Mm.
He's not as, I guess Shepard does too sometimes, but just the way he kept saying things, they kept, just not being very straightforward and giving all of these kind of slang terms. And, and I thought, like, would she even, she's probably thinking, I don't even know what that means. My English is really good,
Yeah.
having never met another human, but,
Yeah.
or earthling, whatever. So.
I was gonna say too, Taylor doesn't even have an accent, and she's from another galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one in Stargate has. Almost no one has.
They all
accent.
have Canadian-ish accents.
Yeah.
Sometimes British.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. It just makes it easy. We don't have to worry. Like, just forget about all of the different languages and accents and things, and let's just get down to the action.
It's no different. It's no different than Star Wars, that everybody knows what everybody else is saying, even though they're speaking in different languages and they can't speak each other's language, but they still know what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, do you know Huttese? No, but I understand what the.
I know that I can understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just dispense with all that.
I kind of like the theory and like a Doctor Who kind of translation circuit theory that if you're in proximity to the gate, there's something in there that will translate for you. But
yeah, works for me.
I like that theory. Yeah.
Do we have alternate languages?
Yes, we do. Most were some variation of, poisoning the well or poison, but in French we get serum, which is, serum, the serum that they make.
Wow.
Then, I know. So
funny how that works.
Yeah. And then in German we get Todlich Verteidigung, which is deadly defense. So
Actually, I like that title.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't give away anything.
No, it doesn't.
That's like the first German title that does it. It's always like, Taylor gets shot.
This drug causes 50% mortality.
That I expect.
96% of Germans are never wrong.
Yeah. Don't want to go there.
No. All right. And we also have some feedback. We have actually quite a bit of feedback.
Excellent.
This one we saved for you, Father Cory. It's from Jennifer R., who wrote in via email. My favorite character has always been Dr. Carson Beckett. He was the real hero of the series. And then some spoilers, which I've admitted. Mm-hmm. Also, I didn't know Father Cory was planning on leaving. I will miss you and your unique perspective and insights. Bon voyage, Father Cory, and as Hammond of Texas would say, Godspeed.
Well, thank you.
And then a question for you. P.S. Would you prefer to be a member of the SGC or a member of the Atlantis expedition?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Can I just say yes?
Yeah.
Actually, I think exploring another galaxy would be pretty awesome. Of course, exploring this galaxy would be pretty awesome too. So I don't know. Just as long as I'm exploring a galaxy, I don't care.
There you go.
As long as I'm not stuck sitting next to Walter. That's all. I mean, Walter's cool, but I just don't want to be sitting there all the rest of my career.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the Atlantis expedition vibe that they have. And then this next bit of feedback from Mark Gillies, 1970 on YouTube on our Stargate Origins episode. They write, "This is a perfect example of why I love the podcast. You watch it so I don't have to. Thanks for taking one for the team."
Oh, yeah.
And, thank you for your feedback.
That's pretty real. I like that.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst thing we've ever watched.
We haven't gone to Stargate Infinity yet.
Yeah.
Or y'all haven't. I won't be here for that one.
We're going to wait till you have leave and you come back, and we're going to save that one for you.
Oh, hey, I just got everything set up in my new house. Great. We're recording tonight.
Yeah.
We're going to Stargate Infinity. Oh!
And then Mobility 63 on YouTube writes on our Stargate Atlantis Rising episode, "I miss this show so very much." I miss it too. I love going back through it and all its funny nuances, like the Mensa thing with Shepard, which is brought up many times and in all seasons.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Much to Rodney's annoyance, which makes it so great.
And we have a new listener or watcher, I guess, on YouTube, USMC9355. Who has commented on a number of episodes, but on There But for the Grace of God, I think the season 1 episode with the quantum mirror. In rewatching this episode, I realized how quickly they go from "who are you" to "we have bigger problems." For some reason, I remember the invasion of the base being the last 10 minutes, but I looked at the timestamp and it's basically half the episode. Great podcast, guys.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. They've also left some good comments on other early episodes like Fire and Water, Need, and Bloodlines, where they're tallying up the number of times Daniel Jackson has either died or acted like a complete sociopath.
I love it.
Yeah, so be sure to check those out. And thanks, USMC 9355.
We'll have to do like a running counter every time it happens on the bottom of the screen, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember what, when we get into the 9th and 10th season, Daniel doesn't stop acting like a sociopath at times. So
he does or he does not stop?
He does not. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you said he does. And I was like, really?
Yeah. So feel free to, leave us feedback and, but we'd also like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Stargate, including Mike P., Eric H., Sean T., Clayton R., and Father Jacob M. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or find our video versions at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. One word. To find previous episodes of Secrets of Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. And you can email us at stargate@sqpn.com or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on Twitter @SQPN. And we will be back next time with the next episode of Stargate SG-1 Covenant. Until then, Father Cory Sticha, thank you for joining us and sharing the secrets of Stargate.
Thank you, Victor.
Thank you, Lisa Jones.
Thanks, Victor.
And thank you, Jeff Haecker, as well.
Thanks, Victor.
And once again, I'm Victor Lambs. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Stargate on StarQuest. And remember, hi, Steve. Bye, Steve.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?